It's the Chief bonding with board games, and thanks for tuning in, and thanks to all you Patreon fans that have been helping keep the show going. Title Bout 2 review. So what is Title Bout? It's a boxing simulation. There's no dice, but it uses cards to create the randomness in the game. That being said, Title Bout 2 has a little bit in common with B17, Queen of the Skies. What? Huh? All right. First, you can play this solitaire, so there's that. But it also plays two-player. But it has a system that you're kind of running by mechanically turning the cards. It's less decision mental space on I'm moving the game than the game is unfolding in a random fashion that I'm controlling by the turning of cards and the checking of charts. And the randomness of how all these cards and decks and numbers align. And then, unlike B17 Queen of the Skies, which is not a B17 bomber simulation at all, it's more of a fun game that puts you in that area, an era. Title Bout 2 is way more of a boxing simulation. It is, Jim Trunzo has worked in the boxer's style and feel and history and how they fought and then distilled it into this game. And that plays through. So it has a more realistic feel to it as it unfolds. Let me go show you what I'm talking about and we'll give you my thoughts. All right, I'm going to talk about the board and the fighter boards and the cards in a second. But first, the rulebook. So you see we got Rulebook 1, Rulebook 2. These, it must have just been cheaper to print them in this way because it's really just one rule book. It's not like a basic and an advanced. It literally drops off back over here and just picks up right over here. So it was a little odd, but that's fine. What I will say on the rule book, and I'll talk a little bit more in my final thoughts, is when Title Bout first came out, Avalon Hill, at least their production of it, really synced it into, let me set down these other ones, synced it into this big kind of page format that breaks it down very succinctly and gets the same amount of rules across in a cleaner fashion. That being said, there have been many, many great improvements here. So let me show you what they are. All right, so the ring, for starters, is just a small little part of the board. It was a huge part of the board on the Avalon Hill game. No need for it. It's literally just to show ring position, and there's bonuses for a fighter if they can get their opponent pinned in a corner or up against the ropes. You'll spend most of your time in the center ring. Now, I took a couple of the blanks. I don't know what the blanks are used for, but what I like to do is if the fight moved into the corner and I wanted to show who was in the corner, I would just slide this over and say, okay, this is the fighter that's in the corner, which coincides with the card I have over here. The reason you can forget on occasion, or at least I can, is this game moves extremely fast, which is good. Let me pan out here. All right, next I'll explain just, this is where the individual fighters are scoring points. It's like a regular boxing match. You're going to score certain points for doing certain things. And it'll tell you that as you go along. Knockouts are not all that common. Knockdowns aren't even all that common. This is a boxing simulation. It holds true to that. What I will talk about a little bit later, especially in my afterthoughts, is this is much more B17-esque, in which you're almost observing the actions. There's some corner stuff you can do with strategy cards, but you're almost observing what happens and enjoying the fight, but with a simulation. So the tables here are great. They're clean. They're easy to understand. You're going to have foul tables, and you've got your primary cut table. All this will coincide with the fighter's card showing what's the likelihood that they cut easily when they were fighting, and then you'll draw a card. You'll look at the correct corresponding number, and it's just a simple graph chart that shows you, yep, we have a cut. What's the severity? You can see then come down to the cut description, talking everything from a bloody nose to a bad gash over the right eye, and they're going to lose one on their control factor. So all the charts, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the charts are very, very nice, easy to read. I like the color layout. You can see TKOs due to cuts. There's just all kinds of information right at your fingertips and easy to refer to, and you're really not even on these charts that much. You're going to be much more on the cards. Let me show you the fighter board, and you'll see one of the fighter cards there, and then I'm going to show you the actual boxing action card, which is where you'll see the action, and I'll run you through a little bit of the action. All right, cards real simple. You're going to be using simple counters to just come in and track damage to the fighter, whether it's cuts or common injuries or rare injuries, swelling, or even different fouls that come in. All right, so their fighter card will just sit right down in this area here for you to reference. This happens to be Riddick Bowe. Let me bring over, I've got him fighting Tommy Morrison in this case. I'm going to real quick walk you through the cards. So their name, their nickname, if they have a special, so fights down, their class, heavyweight. There's 100 heavyweight fighters here with the potential to buy extra decks of different, middleweight, featherweight, whatever. Their control factor 9, and then if you'll see here, we've got, he's a slugger. This is either, so you can be a boxer or a slugger. What this allows the fighter to do is decide kind of what style they're going to use, or at least Riddick Bowe could. Tommy Morrison's a slugger. That's how he's going to come into the fight. There is a control factor chart that allows you to take two fighters. There's a little bit of modulation depending on how far away their control factor is. That brings the simulation into a much closer act of how they'll compare to each other. I'm not going to go into that now. So you got control factors, defense. There's just tons and tons of stuff that is killer instinct or knockout, counterpunching. All of this gets referred to based on things that will trigger with the boxing action cards depending on control factors and our punches landed. When a punch, when there is a fighter in control, which I'll explain in a little bit, you flip the card and it ends up telling you whether something landed, it missed, if there's a clinch, if there's ring movement, all dependent on whether the fighter's fatigued or not. When you then hit, there's yet another card flip. These will be your hitting values, so your points, and then you're also seeing, was it a jab, a hook, a cross, a combination, uppercut. And then there's some factors that can come in regards to punches that are landed on whether or not it's a knockdown or not, and whether or not an individual can counter punch against you. So there's some little code in here. CP's counter punch. Hit power, I believe, is HP. So how much power is applied in means you could get knocked down or knocked out. And but all the action really takes place on the boxing action cards, and I'm going to show you that now. All right, there's 100 boxing action cards. You're going to shuffle them up, split them in half. That leaves you with 50, obviously, and 50 makes a round. So depending on how many rounds you're fighting tells you how many times you're going to be going through the deck. So once I exhaust this one, I would simply pull this one down and go into the next round of fighting. I also like to do a little thing where depends on which fighter you're turning the card for. So the first thing you do is determine who's the aggressor. They're going to be the one that you do the first card flip for a control factor. So let's just say it's Riddick Bowe. When we turn this, I'm going to have Riddick Bowe's cards going over to this side, and I'll have Tommy Morrison's cards coming over to this side. It rolls so fast, I will sometimes lose the idea of who is doing who or which card I'm flipping for. So the control factor here is 4. I can tell you in this match, Riddick Bowe's control factor is 10. So if we're at 10 or below, he's in control of the fight, and he's got a chance to land a punch. That's all we're looking at on this first turn of this card is that number there. Is it 10 or lower? Now, this number, or Riddick Bowe's number, can be modified. He can get bonuses if he has Tommy Morrison in the corner, or maybe if he's got a swollen eye, can't see as well, he'll have negatives. So things will adjust the control factor which is huge because obviously if you're in control, you have a chance of landing your punches. So the next thing when we flip the card is Riddick is in control. We got to see if he hits now. So now, that's a terrible one to start with. I'm going to grab another one. I literally didn't preset this up. Let's see. We'll show you what a foul does here in a little bit. So now we're looking at this random number. This would be the equivalent of a dice roll. We've got 36. So you're saying, well, what in the heck do you do with 36? Well, on 36, you would be, that's Tommy's card. Where's Riddick's card? Hold on. There it is. All right, so we're looking and saying, well, what does this random number do? Well, now we're down here on this action to see 36 falls right into this area on a missed punch. Punch is missed. And we've got an interesting thing. So he misses 33 to 44. His counter punch, had it been a 33 or a 34 or a 35, Tommy Morrison could have counter punched, hit him right back. And that's where the action can literally, it feels like a counter punch. It's really fast. So in this case, the punch just missed. We go on about our business. So Riddick Bowe was in control through a punch, missed it. Is he still in control? We're back to looking at this number. He is. Remember, it's got to be 10 or lower. He's in control. So we're still over here on Riddick Bowe's deck. Now we're flipping over here for a random number. We've got 10. This is beautiful. This is going to be a hit. So let's take a look on his card. All right, we're going to go back down. So we're looking into here under that random number. We got a 10. So we're between 1 and 32. He's landed a punch. Now, had he been 7 or lower, we would have had some potential knockdown, knockout issues going on, and we would come in and refer to some different things on his card. We're not in that realm. You don't get a lot of knockdowns or knockouts. They do happen, but it's not like it happens in every match even. But we've got a hit. So now what are we going to do? Well, we're going to flip a card, and we're going to look in another area, and then we're going to reference this. So let me show you. So now we're flipping the card, and at this point, we're looking for the result. So we're not looking control factor. We're not looking random number. We're looking result. We got 18 and a potential cut. This is good. Sounds terrible saying that's good, but I get to show you how a cut works. So we're going to look at the 18. All right, so we've got an 18 comes in as a jab with a hitting value of 2. All right, we're going to go ahead and handle that, score that. We've got a landed jab. Now we got to see, is there a cut? So I'm going to show you again on the card. Nice and simple, cut 1. And I'm going to move us over to a chart, and then we're going to flip and grab a random number. Well, let me grab a random number while we're here. So our random number is 8. This is going to be good. High numbers are where it gets dangerous on a cut. We're going to slide over here, and I'm going to show you how this cut works on the chart. All right, so we're on the primary cut table. Now you can see Riddick Bowe is a 1 on his boxing card, which is good. It means he's less likely to get cut. And you also saw that his card he turned for the random number was an 8. This means he wasn't cut. He was hit. So as the numbers had gone up, if we'd ended up with, say, a 58, he would have had a B, and then we would have slid over to a B, and you'd see he would have had a slight cut under the left eye, and then we would track that. I moved it right here. All right, and that chip would come in, and we would track that. So Tommy Morrison has a chance to come back, and we check, and yes, he's got a 2. If I remember right, his control factor is 9. So now we got to check the random number. His random number is 16. All right, definitely a hit. So we're looking in this range here. You can see, yes, he's got a hit. If it had been 7 or lower, he would have had a potential knockdown, knockout. It is not. It's a 16, but we have a hit. So we're going to see where does he hit. He comes in, focus. We've got a 44, and now Tommy Morrison has maybe cut Riddick Bowe. So we look, the 44 is a cross, hitting value 3. And now we're going to, we already know from my flub earlier, Riddick Bowe is a 1 on the cut chart. So we got to grab a random number. Again, it's like a dice roll. 15. Now, you know that higher numbers are what matters on the cut chart. 15 wouldn't have cut any fighter even anywhere in this game. So no cut, but he did land a punch. So we got to see, is he still in control? Is Tommy? Tommy's now fighting back. Is he in control? He is, just barely, spot on. Now we got to see a random number. What happens here? Oh, come on. We got a foul if we can get it to focus. Good. We've got a foul. Let me show you how a foul works real quick, and then we're going to step away because you're seeing how quickly the flipping of the cards happens. Now, again, I like to do one fighter on one side and the other fighter on the other. It just helps me, hey, okay, Tommy just lost control. Now I'm checking over here on Riddick. Let me go show you the foul chart real quick, and then we'll come into final thoughts. All right, looking at fouls. First, when you start the game, you're going to have a referee table. So you could have a referee that's very lenient, normal, or strict. So you have that in play, and it tells you the standards of how much leeway the fighters are going to get. So you already know that. You've now had Tommy Morrison get a foul. So when we come in on the foul chart, we're looking at, let me grab Tommy Morrison's card here, get it in focus. We're looking at foul and then the letter B. All right, well, the foul means he's going to be in this B rating here. We're going to draw another card from the action deck, and we just, again, look at the random number. Hello, come on in. Random number is 48. We're going to pop back in. Boom. We come in. 48 is going to put you in here, and you're going to see, I can't read through my monitor. What do we got? Motions to keep the punches up. So that's a pretty standard deal, but as you get into these lower areas down in here, you can start getting warnings. And depending on the style of referee you have and the number of warnings you've received, or if it's a more severe foul, you can start having points deducted. Let me roll back over to the action card deck. All right, I'm going to step out now and we'll go do final thoughts. But this is the heart of the game. Everything rolls back and forth with controls and then random numbers. And then is there a hit on the boxer's card? And yes, we're going to go check the result. And then we're looking, sometimes instead you're checking for ring position, or you're checking for a knockout, or you'll come in and have something that'll tell you to do a condition check. And so you'll flip the next card and you'll go read whatever the potential condition is, or it could say a possible injury. So here, if you'd have flipped this one, no injury. Just treat it as a break in the action. Or you can have special effects. All right. And this one, again, is nothing special occurs. Consider it just a brief pause. So you may think, uh-oh, I just had an action up here where there's an injury, and then you flip the next card, and no injury. So you get this ebb and flow, and you're ripping through this deck. You're just pop, 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 and it's just flying. And it actually does feel like a boxing simulation. It feels fast, and I don't know how else you could do that. It's just boom, 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 and as you get to know these cards and your fighter, and maybe you already know Tommy Morrison's B foul, and he's a 2 on the cut, and you're just popping through. Let's roll out, and we'll go give final thoughts. All right, we're back. So, Title Bout 1978. A much tighter package. I love the board. I love the charts. There's been a few little tweaks here and there that are good, but it's essentially the exact same game refreshed. The cards look gorgeous. The board looks phenomenal. Everything's right there at your fingertips. So Title Bout 2, I think due to probably just printing situations, there's book 1 and 2, which really should just be one book. Maybe it was too thick to do. But it meanders a little bit more. It has all the information you need there, but having played Title Bout and knowing that, looking at the cards, how they're almost the exact same game with that up refresh, the better look, some little things cleaned up. But it was wordy in here, and it was hard to reference at times. And then I had 2 books, and I'd be going in saying, well, are the cut rules, are they in book 1 or are they in book 2? They're in book 2. That is one part where a Jim self-publishes. Great. Lovely. But if you have a professional publisher, I think they would have distilled this a little better. That being said, I think my video showing how the cards, the control factor to the random number, to the result, or whatever chart you're looking at, it's so intuitive. I just felt like for a brand new player, this would be a little bit of a barrier. If I get a chance, I got a bunch of games that just rolled in, but I would love to come back and do like a 3-minute, this is how the cards work. Maybe even cut my section out of here and just show how the cards function, because it's so fast, so intuitive, so boxing feeling, like you're watching a fight almost take place, that I think maybe even the modern day rule book that shows the card and says you flip the card and you're looking here and there's a circle around the control factor. And you're comparing that control factor to your fighter's control factor. And is he in control? Yes. Flip another card. Now you're looking at the random number, and you're going to be looking at that number on this chart on your fighter card. A little arrow, and it shows you. And by the way, it lands right there. And that way you could show the counterpunch situation. But you wouldn't even do that right there. You would literally then just say, let's just say that punch landed. Now you're flipping another card. You're looking at this result here and down here and applying that here. That would have given the feel and the speed of those cards. And then when you get to the foul, you explain, if you would have got this number and it said this is what you do. And again, show it visually with the card and the chart on the board. All right, enough said. I thought that maybe could even be added, Jim. If you get a chance, you can do like a 1-sheet or 2-sheet page that maybe even breaks out the flow of gameplay like that. I think it would be invaluable. Your card system, talking straight to Jim now, is unbelievable. I love it. What it does in Gladiator, allowing the movement in and the randomness, it just flows. What it does here in the boxing simulation allows me to make a picture of what's going on. It's almost like I'm watching a show with the bout and seeing it go on. This example I used in this video, I didn't pre-set up. You know, Riddick comes out, he's in control, he's the aggressor, boom, misses, throws another one, hits. The potential cut, no, in control, loses control. Tommy Morrison comes back, boom, lands a shot, boom, comes in. And it's just like, wow. I mean, I can feel the action happening and it feels like boxing. That's very hard to do. So, love that aspect. I like this primarily solitaire. Now, if you have someone else that can just do what I did and gets visually into what's going on, they're going to be right there with you. I've played the original Title Bout with Judd, and we're both there. We're both right in that moment. There are some folks, there's some folks I wouldn't play this with because they would be like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just flipping cards and looking on charts, a la B17. A lot of the folks wouldn't like that either. I'm like, yeah, but do you see visually what's going on? Okay, so know that going in. If you're the no, I don't see it visually going on, you probably don't. It's not your thing. Cool. This is a game you can get lost in. You could play a championship run and have a fighter go through a series. You could take historically fights and refight them. I still haven't done it, but I want to do Cassius Clay against Muhammad Ali and just have fun with that and see what happens and picture young and old fighting. That's what this game does. And a little nugget Jim's working on, kind of had it out, but I think it was more of a prototype. I'm not sure, but he's got a Wild West gunfight version. Oh my God, please get that done, Jim. His Gladiator Quest for the Rudis brings Gladiator combat to life with the same system. And it did the same visual feel for me. So he's got this card system flowing beautifully, nicely. It feels thematic, yet it's, in this case, a great simulation. So if you like any of what I said, go check out Title Bout 2. It's Straight Jab Media, I want to say. Hopefully I got that right, Jim. I'll put a link down in the description. See you guys later. Title Bout 2. It's about time. It's back, baby. 2019. It's back. See you guys.